is Tuesday, September 1st. I'd like to convene the regular monthly meeting of the Port of Galveston. Port Director's Report. Rodger?
One point that Disney brought up yesterday was they control their own terminals. In other words, the Canaveral, they have two terminals. They had one that was totally their own terminal. They picked up another terminal to bring in their new ships, some additional ships. And they're talking like things like bringing fresh air in rather than recirculating air conditioning. So like one of the things we're doing out here is we cool the same air over and over. And we've talked about add-ons for the ventilation systems that will take out the viruses and those kind of things. But back to your question, you know, I believe the cruise lines think that they're close.
One thing I'd be interested in knowing, Rodger, we've heard a lot about Carnival and Royal. You mentioned recent conversation with Disney. Any ideas what their plans are?
Well, I mean, no. I mean, their plans are, like the rest of them, is to get ready to cruise. And when the no-sail order gets lifted, then they intend to get out there. And what we're doing with Carnival and Royal and all of them, and actually the other cruise lines that don't even come in here are involved in all the conversations about what we do, what it's going to look like, and how they're going to handle it on their ships, and you know what we can do, you know. So I mean, and we're doing pretty much everything. I mean, it's not. There's no miracle here. I mean, it's social distancing. It's all those same things that we're all doing will now take place on ships the same way. And just a couple more notes. They'll be limiting contact with people, and it'll be using technology for that. They'll be limiting. Disney brought up that will only allow so many people in terminal at a time, which Disney has always staggered their people anyway, but they don't necessarily enforce that. They will be enforcing that now, where it says on your ticket you go on at 10:30, and they're also prepared for later departures and things like that, because it's going to take a longer time to get people on the ship based on these new methods and get people off the ship and those kind of things. So those are all the things that we're involved in.
Well, like you mentioned earlier, they're not going to start out 100% occupied. It's going to be a staggering effect. It'll be important to know in our budget.
I've got a question for Rodger.
Disney's working at 70. They're looking at 70% occupancy.
When you have those conversations, I just got a question for you, Rodger. That someone brought to my attention is that just like the airlines are going through without having the occupancy to be able to operate, and that's one of the things that came back that people have discussed with me, is that it's going to be very hard to operate a cruise ship at 50% because of the cost, $10 million for fuel or whatever, that it's really going to put a burden for them to do the gradual comeback. And that made sense when I thought about it, and I think that's one of the reasons some of these airlines are having such difficulty. I think it might be the same in the cruise business, because those ships are really expensive. Has that come up in some of y'all's discussions on?
Yeah, and I've gotten differing numbers on that. I mean, I've gotten numbers that say, or people have mentioned numbers to me that there's a 30% occupancy that allows them to break even on the ship.
Cruise ships are very profitable.
And here again, it's, you know, Disney comes out yesterday and said their intent is to begin at 70%. In other words, they'll try to sell 70% of the ship. So you can see the disparity between one saying 30 and another saying 70. Sure. But I think one of the things is for sure is they have zero cash flow now, and so you know everything that they can bring in, you know, obviously expenses increase incrementally with the number of people you got on the ship.